Sometimes a client is looking at Provincetown, sometimes Wellfleet, and somewhere in the conversation we'll say, have you considered Truro?
And they pause.
They pause.
They pause. Not a bad pause, just a pause.
Like the name rang a bell they'd forgotten about.
Turo's like that because I actually live there. So I have thoughts.
Oh, she has thoughts.
Yes, she has exactly.
Well, welcome to... I'm Nate Butera.
And I'm Laura Potenza, your guides to buying, selling, and living on the Outer Cape.
Truro. It sits right between Wellfleet to the south and Provincetown at the tip, the wrist of the Cape, if you think of it as an arm.
Yes, and it is overwhelmingly undeveloped. 3/4 of Truro is Cape Cod National Seashore. The federal government owns most of it.
Which means it'll never be developed, which is pretty extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. And it also means that the housing stock is constrained. Roughly 2,800 total units in the entire town, about 90% detached single-family homes. Condos exist, but they're very, very rare.
And year-round population is about 1,700 people. Mm-hmm. But in peak summer, it swells to 15 or 20,000.
Yes. In January, you can roll a bowling ball down Route 6 and not hit anyone.
I have rolled no bowling balls down Route 6, for the record.
Noted. The record will reflect that.
So, like, living in Truro, you know, that winter-summer extreme is all over the Cape. But what does it look like in Truro?
So in Truro, we live on a beautiful street in Truro, and I would say of the 10 or so homes that are on that street, there are only 2 other year-rounders.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, you
got the whole place to ourselves in the wintertime.
Yeah. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, by the end of October, it's ours.
Yeah, I love your spot out there. You have a lot of land. You have a great garden, which I'm very envious about. Yes. And you have an amazing roof deck with views.
Yes.
It really is special.
It's very special. It's very special. Yeah.
Well, so that's the lay of the land. And let's talk about what draws people to Truro.
Okay, so the first thing that people notice when they come is that they can just exhale.
Right.
There's space, real space. The lots are very generous, and the trees provide actual privacy.
Yeah, not like Provincetown, where your neighbor can practically hand you a cup of coffee through the window.
Yes, which, for the record, is part of Provincetown's charm. And I do say this with complete sincerity. Yes.
She does. Truro is sort of where the half-acre lot, the garage, the room to breathe becomes, real.
Yes. And the beaches. Let's talk about the beaches.
Sure. 10 beaches. Atlantic side, you've got Head of the Meadow, part seashore, massive dunes, serious surf. You've got Long Nook, moody and dramatic at the bottom of a steep dune path.
Yeah.
Boston Beach, which is wide open. Some good beginners surfing.
Yes, I see surfers out there all the time.
Really?
I do. So on the bay side, you've got Cornhill. It's warm water, gentle waves, families everywhere. And that's also where the Pilgrims, found a cache of corn stored by the Wampanoag people in 1620, and that helped them survive their first winter.
Hence the name. You know what, I read about that a little bit. And I read that the Pilgrims found the corn to help them survive, and that they left a note.
What?
I don't know if that's true.
But could they?
I mean, from what I understand, there had been Europeans. I know. There had been Europeans actually here, because, the Americas were discovered in 1490.
Yeah.
So there had already been some Europeans and other people in the area. Don't know if they could read a note left by the English. And I don't know how true that is, but and it makes, I mean, I feel like they're Puritans. They probably would have left a note.
Nathan is just, he is a plethora of facts.
Well, I really like that one, and so I remember it. So, but it's an underrated location, Cornell. 10 minutes from Provincetown, or Truro in general. 10 minutes from Provincetown and 10 minutes from Wellfleet.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can we talk about Atlantic Spice for a second?
I'd love to talk about Atlantic Spice.
Yes.
So,
yeah, please.
Right at the junction of Route 6 and 6A in North Truro, there's a big blue warehouse.
Yes. Can't miss it.
Yeah, you drive up this kind of hill right by, it's near the vineyard, sort of.
It is near the vineyard, yeah.
And then this big warehouse has bulk herbs, spices, teas, botanicals, dried fruits, nuts, all kinds of kitchen stuff.
Yeah.
It's if you like to cook,
yeah,
it's a fantasy.
Yes, it's the kind of place you can go in for one thing and then you come out 45 minutes later with a cookbook and some lavender something.
And all at wholesale prices.
Yes.
So, but I do have a professional interest in spices. I do co-own a sandwich shop.
Yes. He comes home with bags. Frank has stuffed bags.
Frank's learned. And the other thing, actually, that's pretty surprising, it is open year-round.
It is. I do a lot of my holiday shopping there because they have so many great things.
Yeah, it's awesome. Quick history note. Because Truro's past is genuinely interesting, incorporated in 1709, it was Wampanoag territory long before that.
Right. They called it Pamet, which is why you have the Pamet River, Pamet Harbor, Pamet Road.
Yeah. Whaling and fishing town. The meeting house in Truro Center has a real Paul Revere bell in the steeple. 865 pounds. It still rings.
Right. And the Highland Light has been standing since 1797. The whole 430-ton structure was moved inland in 1996 because erosion had it 10 yards from the cliff edge.
Yeah. Cape Cod energy. If something's in the way, you got to figure it out.
Yeah. And Men in Black 2, that 2002 film, it opens with Mill Smith driving out to Truro to find Tommy Lee Jones working quietly at the post office. Treating it as the most remote, forgotten place on Earth.
That's pretty funny.
Yes.
I think that scene was actually filmed at a lighthouse in New York.
But yes,
Truro plays the role.
Right. I live there. I take no offense.
So there is something to be aware of about Truro. So a large. It doesn't always come up until you're about to enter into a transaction. But some of Truro's inventory actually sits inside the boundaries of the Cape Cod National Seashore.
Yes, and buying or selling one of those properties comes with a specific layer of rules that a lot of buyers don't know about until they're already under contract.
It's not a deal breaker because a lot of those homes can afford even more privacy than other places in Truro. And a lot of those homes have been in private hands for generations.
Yeah, but it's not a standard transaction either. So you do need to go in with your eyes open.
Yeah, and we can do a dedicated episode on that one because there's some interesting things about it. But for now, if you're looking at a property in the seashore, just ask us. It's one of those areas where having the right agent, it really matters. And I've actually done a few transactions, a number of transactions in Truro, but I've actually done a couple of them that are in the seashore. And there are some interesting things to be aware of. I mean, the most memorable one was it was a family-owned property that the patriarch had passed away and the siblings were inheriting it. So they wanted to sell it. And it was about 3 acres inside the National Seashore. And it had been a number of businesses for over the years.
Okay.
So it was at the most recent iteration, it was like an automotive business.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember that one.
And so if you buy something that was a commercial property in the seashore, you are grandfathered to run the same kind of business
yes.
that you had, which I can't even imagine why I can't imagine conservation would just be like having a fit if somebody were trying to run an automotive business in the seashore. But they retained that right, and the family that ended up buying it, though, of course, had no interest in running a business. They tore down the old home. It wasn't really historic. It was a ranch style home from the 40s, and they built this really green, environmentally sustainable home on the site. It's quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but also, like, you know, it's a very specific person, Truro, who wants to be there. It's not for everyone. And if you don't know that going in,
right? There's no downtown. There's no main street. There's no little cute little village center to walk through.
Nope. You're in your car.
Yep.
Always. If walkability is central to your vision of the Cape life, Wellfleet and Provincetown are probably better for you.
Right. There's also no chains. There's very limited services. There is one elementary school. Middle school and high school kids go elsewhere. And cell and internet can be spotty, depending on where you are.
That's absolutely true.
But that's part of its charm.
Yes. Yep. And the off season there is very real.
Yep.
A lot closes by November in Truro. And by January, you are on your own.
But here's a detail that I love, because it says everything about Truro's character. And there are no home mail deliveries in Truro.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Everyone has a PO.
Everyone has a PO.
You have to.
That's where you see everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the post office every day. And you see everyone.
But don't you have a PO box in P-Town?
I do. We have one there, and we have one
in P-Town?
Yes,
Okay.
because, you know, we're very important
yeah.
all over the place. But that does sound like it could be an inconvenience, but it really is like where you run into all your neighbors and you get all the gossip. And
yeah, that is, so maybe makes sense. You know, maybe Agent K from Men in Black was quite busy.
Yes, he was, because that's where every resident went into the post office every day.
Well, it's a community feature disguised as a logistical quirk.
Yep.
Truro is not in a hurry to be like everywhere.
No, which some people find deeply, deeply appealing.
And those people are called Truro homeowners.
Yes. But Truro is not the bargain alternative to Provincetown that some buyers assume.
Right. Right. It's you know, people here like it's quieter and less famous than P-Town, and I think they think it means it's cheap.
No, it does not mean that it's cheap.
Yeah. Median home values are in the 7-figure range, and average sale prices around 8 to 900,000 and higher. So price per square foot in Truro usually about 800 to 850, depending on the home.
Right, but what you do tend to get is more land and more house than Provincetown. But you know, you can't come in there expecting a deal.
Oh no, inventory is very thin.
Yeah.
Properties sit longer.
Yep.
Average days of market is in the 80 to 110 range. Partly because sellers price to their own sentiment rather than to comp support.
Yes, which, you know, as their agents is always a fun conversation.
Oh, so fun. Our favorite.
So when the right house at the right price does hit, it does move.
Right.
Yeah.
So is Truro right for you?
Privacy, space, spectacular beaches, and 2 great towns, 10 minutes in either direction. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But if you need a walkable village with energy and services, Wellfleet or Provincetown will serve you better.
Mm-hmm.
No knock.
Just, yep.
Different thing.
Yep, different thing. And as someone who actually lives there, it's deeply peaceful in a way that took some adjustment.
Mm. Well, from New York City.
Yes, and then became something I can't imagine giving up.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which is the Truro story. It takes a minute, and then it takes you.
Yes. And also, and this is not in the script, Atlantic Spice has incredible car wash.
That's probably very true. And vanilla, actually. We have like a couple of different versions of vanilla there. They have an exotic blend. They have a more traditional blend. And they've got oils that you can use in your culinary. Like I made these madeleines that called for bergamot oil. And I was like, where
am I going to get that? Atlantic Spice.
Where? Yeah. So anyway, thanks for spending time with us. Questions about buying or selling on the Outer Cape, Truro, or anywhere else, we're always happy to talk. Links in the description. Find us on YouTube, and we will see you next time on Inside Our Cape.
See you out there. Goodbye.